Hello, everyone, and welcome to this online meeting. I'm very pleased to be joined by Matt Hough here today. Matt's currently working in Hong Kong, and he's going to give us an overview of his current role, how he got to this position. What we're looking to achieve from this meeting is to showcase how Matt went about finding employment overseas. We're finding that more and more PGA professionals are now looking for employment overseas, and it's our role here at the PGA to try and assist with that process. So, welcome, Matt. Thanks for joining us here from Hong Kong. I believe it's the evening over there, so I really appreciate
It is.
you taking the time to join us.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. It is evening time. It's just starting to go dark here now, so we have to make this relatively brief.
Sure. Matt, it'd be good to start with your career journey to date, obviously including details of your current role. I think it would be of real interest to the people that we've got watching.
Sure. Okay. Well, I turned pro in I think it was 2008, and I did my training at Hopwood, Manchester Golf Club, under the head professional there, who was Brian Connor. The training was useful. It was a good base for me to start my career. Once I completed the training, I realised that obviously Brian was, he was a career guy, and he'd been at Hopwood for, I think, probably at that point, probably 20 or 25 years, and he's probably going to be there forever. So really, the only way I was going to progress my career was, and progress it quickly, was probably to move on, and particularly move abroad. So I set about looking for opportunities abroad, sent my CV to a few different places. I think I might have sent it to Saudi Arabia and Russia and Hong Kong a couple of times, and never really, in fact, I think most of the time I probably didn't even get a response to most of the emails. And then I think PGA organised a working in China kind of course at the Buckinghamshire. Should probably have been, might have been like March 2012, and I attended it, and I met a guy. I think I met a guy there called Ian Roberts. I might have met you there, Matt. I think actually.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, we did put that on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I met Ian Roberts there. Kind of explained what I wanted to do and how I wanted to go about doing it. Found that the whole process that we talked about there quite informative and useful about how to get a job abroad. And so I just kind of chased him down. So I that was in the March. I heard that he was going to be at the Open in the July. So I sent him a couple of emails. I managed to meet him in the PGA tent I think it was the PGA tent at Royal Liverpool. I think it was. It was Royal Liverpool, I think. And obviously, Ian Roberts at the time was the executive director of Mission Hills Group, and they were setting up, large-scale academies in China, Mission Hills, Shenzhen, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I kind of spoke to him there again. That's obviously the second time I've met him, and then obviously the winter then comes along, and I wanted to go and see Mission Hills and really put my face in amongst it. And see what Mission Hills was all about. So I took a month off work. I paid for my own flight. I organised the whole trip myself, organised my visa into China, which was difficult at the time, and sent Ian and Mark an email at the time just saying, listen, I'm coming to Mission Hills. We've met before, Ian. I would like to meet up with you and talk about possibility for opportunities and expansion, and they agreed to meet me. So I met them the first night I was there. I was only supposed to be in China for 2 or 3 days. Obviously, once I met Mark and Ian, they kind of liked me. I think might be the right way to describe it. They liked what I said, and they decided to keep me on for a 1-week working interview. So I then spent 1 week working, obviously for free, and a working interview at Mission Hills. Left China to go back to Thailand for what would have been a holiday, and got an email saying I'd got the job. So my holiday finished. I went back to the UK. I dumped my girlfriend. I sold my car. I rented my house out. I packed my stuff. I told mum and dad I'm going to China, and that was it. I left.
Right. Wow.
And that was that. Yeah. When I think about it now, it all happened very quickly. But my God, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
There was what I've learned from that, Matt, is there was an awful lot of investment on your part. In terms of getting to that position. It was risky, wasn't it? Obviously, giving up a job, and moving overseas, but you invested, in flights, in time, going over to see Ian at Mission Hills and making that personal connection. I think the people listening to this will, they'll have probably been in the same situation, sending many CVs and emails and things, but there's no real substitute, I don't think, for in actually getting in front of someone and meeting them face to face. Because
sure.
I know Ian very well as well, and he would say the same thing, that you really you really put that investment in, and that's what attracted him to giving you that position and that chance at Mission Hills. Would you?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you?
Correct, yeah. That week that I was there at Mission Hills as well, every minute that I had spare, I was either with Mark or with Ian or with some of the other coaches that were there at the time. There wasn't many coaches there at the time. I think Alan Gibson was there at the time. So there was every opportunity I had to either have dinner with somebody or lunch with somebody or breakfast with somebody or shadow a golf lesson, get involved in that in any way I can for that week. I did it, and I think that's what ended up getting me the job, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you speak to anyone else in China or overseas before you kind of went to that session at the Buckinghamshire, or was it? When did you kind of start thinking that, I want to go overseas?
Kind of once I'd finished my training. I always wanted to go and work abroad anyway. I enjoy traveling. So from a travel point of view, I wanted to see the world, but I wanted to see the world and do the job that I love at the same time. So being based in Asia, there's this half of the world I've not really seen before, apart from a little bit of Southeast Asia, Thailand and Burma perhaps. So I wanted to see a lot more of what the world had to offer. And the only way I was going to do it was to actually work abroad as an expat. Yeah. So that was, and I hate the weather in the UK as well. So that's the other thing.
Yeah, it's certainly
hate the winters.
Where you are at the moment. Matt, talk me through a little bit then about your current role, and how you went, how you got that role. Obviously, I don't know if people listening can see the webcam, but looks like you're in the middle of Hong Kong at the moment. Fantastic city.
If you want, I'll actually turn the webcam around if you like, and you can see what I'm sat in front of.
I'm not sure if we're getting this. I hope we are. But you said right in the middle of Admiralty there, I believe, in Hong Kong.
Wall-to-wall skyscrapers all around.
Fantastic. So your facility is based there, Matt? The GolfTEC facility?
Yes. This is the outdoor putting green.
Fantastic.
So yeah, we're based right in the centre of Hong Kong. Before I came here, I worked. Also left Mission Hills. I worked at Pine Rock with IMG for 2.5 years, running basically my own academy on behalf of Pine Rock, on behalf of IMG, under their umbrella, and I learned a huge amount there. And that unfortunately, that whole job came to an abrupt end, which is another part of working abroad. There's a surprise around every corner. So I worked in Shenzhen, very close to Mission Hills again, for 6 months, just doing some casual teaching. And then obviously I worked with Mark at Mission Hills, and then Mark now is the Chief Operating Officer of GolfTEC Asia. So he gave me a call. He said, Matt, listen, you worked with me at Mission Hills. I like what we did together. I'd like you to come and work for me again here at GolfTEC in Hong Kong. So I came here just purely as a coach, but with more of a custom fitting head on as well, which is what I did at Pine Rock with IMG. And yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've been here about 9 or 10 months now, and yeah, it's a lot easier than China to live, and the earnings are great. But doing the China role first gave me the opportunity to step up into Hong Kong. So it was
Sure.
Doing the China thing was very, very useful and a necessary step, I thought.
Yeah, I would say, that point you just made there about Hong Kong, it does have a limited number of golf facilities, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
competition to find employment in Hong Kong. So, and I think that's in terms of but you put yourself in that position because of the personal relationships you built up with people like Mark through your previous position at obviously at Mission Hills.
yeah,
And I think that's a key thing for anyone listening, really, to take away from it, is that you might not find the perfect position straight away, but the fact that you're over there in that area, meeting people, doing a good job, being professional, is gonna, when those positions do come up, then you're going to be ahead of the queue for it, aren't you? So it's
correct.
about
Yeah, sure.
it's about building those relationships and putting yourself in the right position. Matt, what
Yeah.
are some of the biggest challenges you faced then? And is there any time where you thought, you know what, I'm just going to go home, or is it how's sorry to throw that one in
But
there.
Matt, you know yourself what the first 6 months is like in China.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this is the same for people who work, their first position is anywhere else abroad. But for me, the first 6 months in China was probably the hardest 6 months of my life. Both from a being away from home point of view, from a financial point of view, from a food point of view, from a working culture as well. Things are so different abroad than they are in the UK. There's no popping down to the pub at 6:30 on a Saturday night to go and watch, Man United versus Liverpool. There's none of that. That almost doesn't exist unless you live right in the centre of a major city such as Beijing or Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Obviously, we lived at Mission Hills at the time, and unless you went out of the campus or you were prepared to pay quite a bit of money, you couldn't really get any Western food. So it was Chinese food. It was difficult. It's hard.
Sure.
The language thing is a huge thing as well. I don't know if the guys that are listening know any about this, but not a single person spoke English when I first got to China.
Right.
There was almost nobody.
Yeah.
And of course, you can imagine my Chinese was poor at best. So that's a real challenge. The communication side, working with the translator was difficult at first. It was trying to give a golf lesson where you have to say a sentence and then the translator translates it to the student, and then you say another sentence and the translator translates that, and then the student wants to say something back to you. So there's this kind of three-way communication going on all the time. So that's quite unusual. In some respects, that also gives you time to think about what you're going to say.
Yeah.
But you also can't always get out everything that you want to say because you haven't got enough time.
Sure, I think it's as I say, that the translation. I think you obviously you just tried to learn a little bit of Chinese before you made the jump. Did that sort of help you in?
Yeah, that's right. Before I left, I did 40 hours of Chinese lessons, which just thought would be a good idea to do. I did not realize what I was getting myself in for.
Sure.
Did not realize, because when I got to China, all that 40 hours, I forgot every word of it.
Yeah.
Every word of it. Every word of it. I think most I could say ni hao and bu hao. Probably about it.
No, exactly. But at the end of the day, you did try. You made that, and even if you can say a couple of words, what I found when I moved over there, I did exactly the same. Was people kind of warm to you, and the fact that you've made an effort to to learn the language, because yeah, the real learning is when you get there, when you're in that environment
Correct.
and you're talking to people
Correct.
saying that, and I can certainly, the first time you step foot over the border, it will be a shock, and as you said, it's 6 months of real kind of, you will question, I guess, what you're doing and why you're there. But looking back on that now, Matt, you must be so pleased that you kept on with your sort of vision, and didn't go back home, and kept going.
When I look back at it, there was a lot of guys when I joined Mission Hills. There was a lot of guys that came and went. That I think at the time there was me and 3 other guys that joined at the same time. One guy left after 7 weeks. One guy left after 2 months. One guy left after 2 weeks. One guy left after 7 weeks, and one guy left after 6 months.
Yeah.
So I was the last guy standing.
Sure. It's I certainly experienced that as well.
Allowed me to stay and to persist and to make a success of it was my open-mindedness.
Yeah.
Whilst yes, things were frustrating, and I was frustrated days and times, I didn't get too frustrated that I thought, you know what, forget it, I'm going. Whereas sometimes guys would get really frustrated by Chinese working culture, and I had to remember, you're not going to be able to change them. You've just got to accept that that's the way people work in other countries. That it's not always about the way we work. It's about the way they work. That helped, I think, massively.
It's an appreciation of that their culture, isn't it? You go in there. You've got to work with them rather than telling them what to. This is how we do it in the UK. This is what you should do here, because that's not the way to go about it. You made a point, Matt, earlier on about the financial side now. And I think the point I'd like to make is that I saw a lot of guys and I spoke to a lot of people that were looking at working in China, but that's where we had the representative office, that they wanted to come for a couple of years, make a load of money, and then go back, or they saw it as the driver was the financial. It was a financial driver, whereas obviously we're there to make money. But I think and it would be helpful to sort of hear it from your point of view. It's all about in those first 12, 18 months potentially, you are gonna it's going to be difficult to build up your client base and to get to that point where you're making more money than you would have been in the UK. So I'd certainly like to maybe sort of get your thoughts on that, Matt, if I can.
Well, I think it's that same 6 month time window. The first 6 months, I kind of just about scraped by. I think I made maybe between £1,000 and £1,500 a month, roughly. That was March through to August. It wasn't until, and then I think I had to go home in September to do my visa, sort my visa out. But it wasn't until October, November, December that actually lessons started to really pick up. I started to do a lot of lessons, and I started to make some really good money, relative to what you would earn in the UK. And that's when I kind of realised, not that I'd made it as such, but just the hard work of the 6 months of not giving any golf lessons and trying to find lessons and trying to make sales, trying to save money, but at the same time trying to make sure you have some kind of an enjoyable life. It was only then that I actually started to realise, yes, I'm over the brow of the hill now, and it's going to get better. And it did. Made some reasonable money, in Mission Hill at the time, and financially, I have to admit, much better off here than I would be in the UK for certain.
Sure.
Certain.
Yeah, but you say, Matt, you've made that leap, a leap of faith, really, and it's paid off, and that's what, as I say, there'll be people listening to this, and they'll be thinking, should I do it? Shouldn't I? Obviously, it's an investment job back in the UK. It's about whether people are willing to make that, I guess, that commitment, and what we can try and do as the PGA and the association is to provide resources like this, getting people that are on the ground like yourself, Matt, their point of view, and that's gonna help hopefully in other professionals making that decision. What advice, Matt, would you give someone, just so we can maybe start to wrap this up? What advice would you give to other PGA members looking to move overseas? Maybe sort of covered some of it about staying open-minded, but is it about speaking to people?
Yeah. I think the first thing you've got to do is why you want to work abroad. What are your motivating factors? Is it money? Is it lifestyle? Is it weather? Is it teaching all year round, which is what the majority of Asian or overseas places do? What's the motivating factor, firstly? And how do the motivating factors and the options compare to the UK? I knew that my options in the UK were limited at best, so I thought I've got nothing to lose, really. So that's the first thing you've got to do. And then if you then decide that it is the right thing to do, you've got to go out and do it.
Sure.
And that's find the jobs yourself, because if you just send an email with a CV on it, you're no better than anybody else who's also sent a CV and an email. Whereas if you turn up and you knock on the door and you say, "Hi, this is Matt Hough from the PGA, and I'd like to. I'm a professional. I'd like to about possible job opportunities." They're going to go, "Wow, where's this guy from?" Straight away. That's kind of what I did. And I know other guys have actually done this, and a lot of guys that I know from Asia have also done the same thing. There's me, a guy called Matt Pright. He also did the same thing. Travelled around China and got a job at missions as well.
Yeah.
James Mitchell also did it. And I know lots of guys that have done that. Hoblin, I think he did that as well, possibly. I know lots of guys who've done it, and they've come out. They've got jobs. Guys who sit at home and just send emails and hope they're going to get interviews.
Yeah, kind of expected to fall in the lap, really.
They don't really get jobs out.
Yeah, Matt, you're sort of
you've got to go out. You've got to seek it out.
Yeah.
Go on, Matt.
Sorry, Matt, we just lost you there on the sound a little bit. But I think the point you were making is such a valid one, and you're a prime example of someone that's done it, and that is why I was so keen to obviously record this session and do this with you, Matt. The advice that you've given, I think will really help those that are listening to make that transition if they want to, or certainly give them some more direction about what to do next. So here at the PGA we can assist, we can kind of link, what we're trying to do is link the pros that are looking for work in overseas with members that are already in those countries. Obviously, Matt, yourself there in Hong Kong, we've got a number of other members in Hong Kong. A fantastic place to live and work, I can imagine.
Yes. Like living in Disneyland.
And we are so
relative to China anyway.
Yeah. But it's only probably 15 miles away from Mission Hills, a little bit more, or certainly from the border, less than that. So but you've been there, you've been there a few years now, Matt, and you've sort of worked your way into that position. I know GolfTEC and Mark there, fantastic facility. And I know Mark's looking at other facilities as well in terms of GolfTEC and what they're doing in the region. So sounds like it's a fantastic employer to work for, and sounds like you've got an exciting future there as well.
Yeah, for sure. There's got big expansion plans, and who knows what they'll be doing in the next 12 months or so. But part of the reason why I joined this as well joined Mark was the career opportunities, with the expansion plans. So it's going to be exciting for sure.
Fantastic, Matt. I think we'll wrap it up there. I really want to say just again, thanks for your time. I know you've got a lesson in about a quarter of an hour, so appreciate you're busy. But this will, as I say, we'll be getting this onto the website now for the pros to and also for the trainees as well to listen to this. So, Matt, thanks very much for your time.
I want to say one more thing. I just want to say I want to thank you and Robert Maxfield for doing all that hard work and putting together that international PGA conference in Phuket, the first ever one. I can't imagine how much work must have gone into organising it, especially when there wasn't many people signed up with a month and a half to go. But it really was a worthwhile event, and if the guys up in the UK knew the plans that the PGA had, then they'd be a lot more optimistic. And if they want to work abroad next year, they have to come to that event. They have to come to that conference for sure. It's an eye opener, definitely.
We really appreciate that. We are, as I say, we will be running in 2018. We're just working at the moment on securing the dates for it with Laguna Phuket. So again, as I say, it's to hear it from someone that was there. That other members should be attending. Certainly, if they're looking at working in Asia, it was a fantastic networking opportunity for the pros there. You got some of the some of the most influential PGA members in the region, and as I say, that's how you go about getting on in your career, getting the best positions, and finding employment in Asia. So, Matt, thanks very much, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Cheers, Matt. Take care. Bye.